Ahoy, mateys! I am what I am, and that's all what I am. I'm Popeye the Sailor Man. Well, blow me down and shiver me timbers if it ain't me old pal Mike Sporn. I wouldn't believe me own eyes if I wasn't seeing what I was looking at.
That was the voice of Popeye, and also the voice of Jack Mercer, who has given Popeye his voice for more than 40 years. How did you come to do the voice, Jack?
Well, I was in the inking department when I first started to do the voices for the characters I happened to be inking at the time. The other inkers seemed to get a kick out of it and sort of egged me on. The boss told me to cool it so they could get some work done. Sometimes people stopped by to visit the studio. One day a woman came to the studio and she had a high voice that could be heard in our inking department because the petitions were open at the top. The talking stopped and I thought the visitor had come and gone. Then I started to imitate that voice until someone told me that it was Max Fleischer's wife and that she'd gone into Max's office. Well, needless to say, I spent the rest of the day in a hot sweat awaiting a pink slip. Well, after a while, I was advanced to the in-between department, and one day I was given a scene of Popeye to work on. Yeah, you guessed it. I began to imitate the Popeye voice, which was close, but, not the real thing. Someone, I don't know who, spoke to Lou Fleischer about it. He approached me about trying out for the voice. I don't know if Dave Fleischer was aware of my potential at this point. I didn't think I did it well enough. I don't know how long it took, but I used to go home and practice the voice after work. Suddenly, one night, my voice seemed to crack, and I felt that I had at last gotten the right tone and quality for the Popeye voice. The next day, I informed them that I thought I could do the voice. Dave and Lou had me audition over the phone to someone at Paramount. It might have been Dick Diamond. I'm not sure. A short time after that, I started to do some incidental voices on some of the cartoons as a breaking-in period. Then one day, I was informed that I was going to do a Popeye cartoon.
Who did the original voice?
A fellow by the name of William Costello did the original voice. He was known as Red Pepper Sam.
I understand that you thought Popeye's character was a bit cantankerous in the first cartoons.
Yes, I felt that Popeye shouldn't be so gruff all the time. I saw him as a kindly type who wouldn't take advantage of his strength against anyone unless he was forced into using it by unfair tactics. He would then eat his spinach and turn the tables on his opponent, who would wind up in a predicament that left him humiliated in a humorous way.
What other work did you do at the studio, Jack?
Well, shortly after I began doing the Popeye voice, as well as doing Wimpy, Popeye's Pappy, Popeye's Nephews, and Shorty the Sailor, I went into the story department where I wrote stories and drew up the storyboard. I wrote stories for all the various series the studios produced, as well as doing incidental voices. Just to name a few, Betty Boop, Casper the Ghost, Herman and Catnip, Little Lulu, you remember her? Huey the Duck, the Bouncing Ball screen songs, and some material for the feature pictures, Gulliver's Travels and Mr. Bug Goes to Town.
Could you tell me something about the other voice talents you've worked with?
Well, I've worked with quite a few, but mostly with Mae Questel, who did Betty Boop, Olive Oil, and Sweet Pea, and many, many more. And Jackson Beck, who did Bluto and various other voices. You know, he was a well-known character actor on radio and currently does a raft of TV commercials. You could say that we were the studio's permanent stock company. Although we didn't meet socially, we got along fine professionally. Just the three of us handled all the features and incidental voices for the 220 Popeyes we did for the King Features TV series. And while rehearsing, each of us would read the lines of the incidental parts. Between the director and ourselves, and without any enmity, we selected the best voice for that character. I would say that that was quite a show of integrity among actors, wouldn't you?
Is it true that in the early 30s, the Fleischer studio would record the voices after the cartoon was made?
That's right. The finished cartoon was projected on a movie screen in the recording studio where the voice people, musicians, and sound effects men were cued into doing their parts by following a bouncing ball, which appeared on either side of the screen. Of course, the bouncing ball was not seen in the final cartoon, you understand. This was quite an improvement over the first pictures where the music and sound were cued by a potted flower that was seen by the audience somewhere in the background and was animated to wave back and forth in rhythm like a baton.
How do you actually do the voice?
Well, now, to tell you the truth, I haven't any idea. I'm not aware of doing anything special. Whenever I have to do the voice, it just comes out. You know, this reminds me of the pianist who began to think about his fingers, and when he sat down to play, he couldn't play a thing. So I just don't think about the voice.
Have you done the Popeye voice at all since the studio closed?
Yes, every once in a while I do a commercial or educational or industrial film. I was a guest on To Tell the Truth and did a Popeye special cartoon for TV. I did a commercial for Burlington Industries, Coca-Cola, and 2 for the chain of Red Barn restaurants, plus others. And just recently I did the voice for a Popeye roadshow produced by Roger Hess and a sales promotion recording for a chain of Popeye fried chicken restaurants down south, you all.
Well, Jack, I think our time is about up. I'm wondering if you'd care to put a finishing touch to the interview by singing a bit of the Popeye song?
It would be my pleasure, Mike. Oh, I'm Popeye the Sailor Man. I'm Popeye the Sailor Man. Skitty-bitty-dee-I-do. I'm strong to the finish, 'cause I eats me spinach. I'm Popeye the Sailor Man. Whoa, whoa.